Guess what today is?
Manuscript Monday.
Alternatively titled Writing Tip Tuesday, because I keep making these on Tuesdays instead. But there's not much to say about the progress of my writing in the last couple weeks. I'm still writing the 6th and 7th portions of my superhero story. That'll happen this month at some point. But I'm also busy with a lot of schoolwork. A lot of writing for school, actually, so that's what my focus has been the last couple of weeks. I'm also doing the writers' games, which I've done the past 3 years. I unfortunately haven't been able to devote too much time to that at all the last couple of weeks, mostly because of schoolwork, but that is continuing for the rest of this month, so that's another thing I have to focus on. And these right here are my writing-related goals for February, basically.
Writing tip.
Today's writing tip is about genre writing, because I am currently editing a fantasy novel that's a middle grade level, and those are the two main genres of that, and I think I know how to go about editing the fantasy aspect of it, and I think I'm fairly decent at writing the fantasy aspect, so it already has that in it, but it's the middle grade, the reading level of the book that I have to edit a lot. So one tip that helps enormously with this is just reading within that genre. There are really good reasons to read outside the genre that you're writing, but I'm not discussing those today. It's also a really good idea to read within the genre. A big reason for that is this idea of, good artists copy, great artists steal. That aphorism that everyone kind of knows. It's true. It really is. For example, the book I'm writing, or the book that I'm editing right now, the way that it's structured is the first half is 4 concurrent stories from different characters' point of views, and then the second half is those characters all coming together. And I knew that I'd probably read this somewhere before, a structure like this. I couldn't really place put my finger on it, but I was just walking down the sidewalk today and thinking about this book. This amazing book. It's one of my favorite books of all time. And this has that exact same structure. It's 3 characters, not 4, but, whatever. So essentially, I'm stealing that structure from this book, but it's just the way that I want the plot to fit and how I want to present the story to the reader. So it's not any kind of plagiarism type thing. It's just taking what works for one writer and using it for my book, because if it works for them, then it can work for me. A good way to have a balance between, stealing other writers' works and, creating something that's original is to read within your genre, but in a broad sense, and to read very different books within that genre. So I've got Tale of Despereaux, which I've read a lot, but I'm probably going to reread it soon, because why not? It's fantasy, it's middle grade, so it's a little bit younger than middle grade, perhaps, so a little younger than the audience that I want for my current book. It's written like a fairy tale, which I'm not sure if I want to go that route with my book yet. I have to figure that out. But that's down to narration style. It's narrated like a fairy tale. Like the books within here are called Book the First and Book the Second. The full title of it is The Tale of Despereaux, being the story of a mouse, a princess, some soup, and a spool of thread. Which is a very old way of writing a title. And the narrator constantly is calling out the reader, saying, "Reader, this, and we're going to go here, and we're going to follow this character now." So it's very much like there's someone sitting here telling this fairy tale to small children, basically. This book, The Lightning Thief, this is also fantasy, specifically mythology, which is different than Tale of Despereaux. This is middle grade, but slightly an older middle grade. And it's written more as a comedy, more like a conversational, not like, here, I'm going to tell you this lofty, this fantastical story. It's the main character talking in first person, saying, talking about this crazy stuff that happens to him, which is a very different tone than Tale of Despereaux. And not necessarily the tone that I want for my book, but I'm probably still going to reread this because it's a good book and might as well. Now, the book that I just finished reading for school, actually, is this, the 5th season. It's a science fiction / fantasy. Science fiction and fantasy overlap a lot. And this is very different than my book in a lot of ways. First and foremost, this is an adult novel. Or, definitely not for kids. But it makes a lot of interesting writerly moves and narration styles that I do really like and that I think can be applied to kids' books. So there's a lot that I can learn from all 3 of these. Good luck with your writing, and I hope to see you again next week. Also, let me know if you like the jingle. I'm not sold on it yet, but I kind of like it.